Imagine your brand's the talk of the town. We are uncovering the secrets of public relations, taking your brand from unseen to unforgettable. From crafting the perfect press release to getting your story told on TV, we're uncovering the 14 best PR strategies of today. So before I get too far into this, I really need to explain what public relations is, and there's a lot of confusion around that. People think that it's, hey, I just got featured, that's public relations, or this just happened, that's public relations. Really, the way I view public relations is how your company or your business or your brand is telling their story to the public. Now, that can be drastically influenced by what the media is doing. So a lot of what we're going to talk about through this is how to tier your communication strategy towards the media and make sure that you're getting picked up and getting your story out there so there is a public image. So for us, media relations is that core piece of how we're telling the story, unless there's something like a crisis or you're branding for the first time. Once you have that story, that mission about your business, you really want to focus on getting that out to the public through your public relations or media relations. Whether it's through digital publications, engaging influencers, or getting your story told on TV, these strategies are going to be game changers. So the first thing we're going to do is jump into a simple press release and what press releases can do for your business. Now, what a press release is it's just a way for you to release your information to the public. Typically, at most PR agencies, we don't consider a press release as a success as what happens with it when that story gets syndicated and picked up by other outlets. What a press release really is you're just paying to release your information, almost like an email distribution. It's gonna go on major outlets, but it'll say press release, and at the bottom it'll say contact information. So it's very clear it's a press release. You can get some sales and some SEO juice from it, but it's not something that's really gonna have a huge impact on your business. It will help a lot for grand openings, new services, innovative product releases, things that the public and journalists are really gonna care about. That's when you're gonna have the most success with the press release. Other times you're gonna have to do a pitch, and that's the next piece of this is a media release. In media releases, so pitching, we're going to, instead of doing a wire release where we pay to have that go published on outlets and pay to have that go in front of journalists, we're gonna pitch to a very specific set of people through things like email, phone call, text message, Twitter, LinkedIn, whatever that platform is, and tell them about this story and explain to them why it will benefit them and their readers to cover it. Now, the advantage of a media release or pitch over a press release is that you're gonna be very hyper-targeted. So you're gonna look at maybe one-to-one communications where you're gonna reach out to a journalist and say, hey, I saw you covered X, and this seems like it's in your wheelhouse. Would you be interested in covering this story? You know, my founder can talk about X, Y, and Z. And that typically is more effective when it comes to less interesting stories or less noteworthy stories, because you're gonna find that right person that's gonna be interested in listening to you and has a very specific niche. A media release or a media pitch, you're gonna create a media list. Now, a media list is just putting together all the emails or phone numbers or contact information of who you wanna reach out to, figuring out why they're the right fit, and then create a contact and tell them about your story. Now, pitches work very similarly, where those pitches or press releases are gonna go across someone's desk through an automated system that you paid for, but typically there are thousands of press releases a day, and you're gonna have a lot more competition. So that's why it's hard to get picked up from a press release than it would be from a targeted pitch. Now, wire releases and pitches are two strategies that really jump into what our end goal is, which is getting a feature article, a guest article, or a quote. There are different types of articles. So a feature article is typically an article that's written 100% about you. A lot of times that is gonna be done more through pitching than a press release. So Auto PR we did a wire release, but we also did a pitch about a story where we bought our new headquarters in downtown St. Pete. And that's not national news. No one at a huge level cares. We're a smaller agency, but it was picked up because of a local business was interested in it. So that we got a full feature article on our release because a local outlet was interested. Now, this local outlet only talks about St. Pete news, and so that's why it was relevant to them. A guest article, now this is different and typically doesn't come from pitching, but it can. Whoever is telling that story is the journalist behind it. So typically guest articles aren't really written about themselves. So the writer isn't writing about themselves. So I can't write on Entrepreneur about my business and myself because it's very biased and unfair. But what I can write about is things that I'm an expert in. So if I write about communications, crisis management, things like that, I'm more than welcome to write about that. And that's when you're gonna get a guest article picked up. And the advantage is you're putting yourself out there as an expert in the field. So you're getting that thought leadership credit towards your brand, your story. And if people find it, even if there isn't a link back to your company and your website, you're still gonna have a bio, and it's gonna still link to your website, it's still gonna link to you, so they'll be able to track back and find it. And what it's done is it puts you as that expert, because now you're not just selling a service, you're adding value, and you're doing that through other platforms. You're gaining the credibility of entrepreneur, and then you're getting to tell your story, and then people can still see that you wrote it and jump back if they need support. Now both these types of articles are typically seen as digital publications. Usually digital publications have more value because they have a bigger circulation than a magazine or a newspaper would. Now, there are some exceptions, of course, with national newspapers, but people are really moving towards digital, so of course there's way more focus on digital publications. One of the things I left out on digital publications is, of course, quotes. So quotes are probably one of the easiest things to get, especially as you're building your media resume. And a quote is just when a journalist needs to fill a piece about an expert. So let's just say there's a Forbes article and they're talking about supply chain, and you're an expert in supply chain and you're able to give your opinion or just explain what's going on in that scenario. So that would be a quote. Now, there are specific outlets and services that will help you get quotes. One of them is called Quoted, the other is Haro, Help a Reporter Out. Both of these were designed for reporters to be able to send requests. Now, if you're working at a media relations firm or a PR firm, a lot of times you're gonna have subscriptions and these will come across. Haro is actually a free service. They have a paid version as well, but you can register for that and get yourself set up. I think there's even a free version of Quoted. And you can look for people that are interested in specific stories, and then they'll say, hey, I'm looking for an expert in this, and you'll just respond to their questions with your answers, and if you're lucky, it'll get picked up. Now, there's a big advantage on having a publicist or a communication expert help you craft that story, so it's more likely to get picked up. So the next thing that's big in digital publications is gift guides and review forums. So gift guides are basically, if you've ever looked up best headphones to buy and you see what looks like a review, kind of a 10 best headphones, earbuds to buy in 2023, those are typically called gift guides. And what they're doing is they're helping guide you in a specific direction. A lot of times they have reviews behind them, and that makes them more meaningful. There are specific outlets that do specifically just gift guides, and I know Huffington Post is one that does a weird and fun gift guides every holiday, and they will talk about very specific things, and they don't really do as much of a review as just tell you about the awareness of that. But I view those both as gift guides, and what they're doing is they're helping bring more attention and get people directed towards an e-commerce product. These are very valuable long-term to brands and can bring in millions of dollars of sales. So it makes a whole bunch of sense to pitch gift guides, and you can do that the same way you would pitch a media list. Is you're gonna find out who that journalist is, you're gonna find out when those gift guides are gonna go, and you're gonna say, hey, I'd love to get picked up or get added to this list. A lot of times there is financial transactions that happen or affiliate links that go in. So if you look at a gift guide, a lot of times there'll be affiliate links directly to Amazon, and Amazon is giving that person who made the gift guide a kickback for every sale they make. The other piece of that is review forums like G2 and Clutch, where it's a little bit less biased, where you have your customers leave testimonials, leave reviews, and all of those have their own rankings, which was similar to a gift guide. Those as well, specifically more usually around services, will be very helpful to bring in more attention, more eyeballs. It's the same thing with reviews on Amazon, is these review forums build trust and credibility, and absolutely should be part of your PR strategy and story. All right, so the next strategy we need to cover is part of just a traditional media relations platform, and you're all gonna expect this. It's TV publications, podcast publications, and radio publications. Now, most of these work exactly the same. You're gonna be pitching those outlets. You're gonna usually have relationships or find the contact and try to get them enticed into covering your story. Typically, podcasts are one of the easier places to get covered, and there's two platforms I'm gonna recommend to do this. Podmatch and Matchmaker are both platforms that help you get covered, but the advantage of podcasts is usually they're looking at what value you can add to them. And that works the same way with all types of media. They're looking at you as a currency because their goal is to get eyeballs. But with podcasts, it's a little bit easier because you can actually add tangible value really quickly. So a few things you can do is obviously have a bigger social media brand. So if you have a big email list, if you have a big social media brand, if you have a large LinkedIn following, whatever that is, you're gonna be more likely to get on those larger podcasts. Now, a lot of podcasts right now are still very easy to pay for to get onto as well. So pay to play. Unfortunately, that goes with all of these. There's that option, but podcasts are one of the easier ones to do. But another thing you can do is offer to advertise that podcast. So you can say, hey, once we do this podcast and we have the assets, I'll spend $1,000 on Google ads or on Facebook ads advertising the podcast to make sure that we drive traffic. I've done this before, and the last time we did it, we got 500,000 views. So you can leverage your ability to get a larger audience to that podcast, and that will help you get almost every podcast. With TV and radio, it works kind of the same. I still say that radio is easier than TV. And with any publication, your goal is to drive more traffic there and get more audience, or like we saw with the gift guides, is help them make more money. So you have to figure out how to take your story and craft it in a way that people are interested or have a lot of experience and already have that experience in the media already, well-spoken, or being able to add value to a trending story. So at Auto PR, we use the OTR method, so outreach, trends, and relationships. The big piece of that is really the trends, figuring out how to take your story and put it into trends. The last strategy I'm gonna cover is social media and influencers. So you wanna produce as much organic content as possible through social media, through blogs, any platform that's organic where you can produce your own content. That's gonna help build your reputation in the public, which is still public relations. Using influencers, pitching influencers, that whole strategy will continue to help you grow your brand and make it more likely for you to get national coverage in the media. So you cannot leave out social media and influencers in your PR strategy. If all this sounds really complicated, it is and it isn't. I would say pick a piece that you're most interested, things that are gonna be the lowest hanging fruit. So ideally you have an organic strategy through social media. Wire release is the next really easy thing to do for anyone. There's a $50 fee behind it. On the low end, obviously it can get upwards of $3,000. So start with that and then start picking at the easier things to do. I think podcast is one of those things that's a lot easier to get and have a lot of success with. From there, reviews from your customers and different forums. If all of this sounds a little too confusing and a little bit like too much work, I would recommend potentially hiring a PR firm. If you guys are looking, Auto PR is ranked as the #1 PR firm in the country and would be a great opportunity for you. For everyone that stuck around today, I'm really excited. We have a free gift for you guys. So we're gonna give you away a free article on USA Wire or other outlets. All you have to do is jump into the form below, fill out some information, and typically that goes live within 24 to 48 hours. If you guys like content like this, please make sure to subscribe.